how long it takes to build up wealth, let alone 401k investments and beyond. If you see the downturns, that seems particularly out of touch to suggest people have either the ability to wait, not just the emotional patience, but Trump officials are out in force and they are saying overwhelmingly, trust Trump, trust him. He's not backing down, but there is some conflicting messages from the White House. What are you hearing?
All right, so a couple of things. One, to your first point, think also of seniors, senior citizens who are looking at their retirement benefits and retirement accounts. It's different if you're not retired or got some time to see your accounts kind of come back. It's not the same if you need that money now. Secondly, I'd like to just look at the politics. 2 years is his timeline. Well, guess what? The midterms are in about 18, 19 months. So that's less than 2 years. If by the fall of 2026, we're in 2025 now, right? He doesn't have the economy is not if it's in a recession or if it's not in a recession, if these tariffs have not come up with some of the benefits that he has promised, then he's going to have a hard time politically holding on to the House and holding on to the Senate. And that fear is making its way through the Republican hallways right now.
Well, in one of those hallways is Senator Ted Cruz, and he is a staunch Trump ally. There's no doubt about it. But he had this to say today, rejecting any kind of spin on what tariffs might be. Listen.
If the result is our trading partners jack up their tariffs and we have high tariffs everywhere, I think that is a bad outcome for America. Tariffs are a tax on consumers, and I'm not a fan of jacking up taxes on American consumers.
I mean, hearing that from Senator Ted Cruz, obviously it's not in line with what Trump is saying as a beautiful word. Is there a political toll this will take on Trump or Cruz?
Well, I think President Trump actually has a risk calculus going on with two different groups of people. The president's ability to set tariffs is determined by the Congress. The Constitution gives that job to the Congress, but over many decades, starting with the 1930s, Congress has delegated that job to the president. So on the one hand, President Trump has to keep people like Ted Cruz having confidence that his policy is going to work and let Ted Cruz take that risk tolerance. But on the other hand, he's got our trading partners. You talked about cars. In Germany, 1 out of every 4 cars made ship to the United States. German automakers cannot live under a high tariff regime. They need to sell those cars in the United States to keep those factories open. So what's their risk tolerance? Well, right now their tariffs are 4 times what the United States tariffs are on cars going the other direction. So President Trump's got to keep the Republicans in Congress strong, long enough to get them the threshold to negotiate with Germany, in countries like Germany. And ag products in Canada, for instance, their ag products, they put a 14% tariff on ours. We put 4% on theirs. So we have a lot of leverage, and there's a lot of room to bring things down to help the American economy. Got to do it in a way that's serious enough and fast enough to keep Congress in line.
Well, Adrian, if that's the Republican strategy, what's the Democratic response?
Well, I think a couple of things. I mean, number one, I think this is actually galvanizing Democrats more than we've seen for a long time, since Trump has become president. It's not just Democrats, it's concerned Americans. I mean, it doesn't matter who you voted for in the election. If you're watching your 401k go down, if you are, not able to take your family on a vacation because you're worried about losing your job or how this is going to affect your pocketbook and your bottom line, or the seniors. I mean, I have my parents are in their late 70s and they're looking at their 401k and saying, my God, am I going to have to work a few more years? I mean, we are seeing this. It's affecting so many people across the board. And I think the other challenge this administration is having, among a sea of challenges, is they can't explain this policy. They can't, not even this economic team, which, by the way, in a sea of some, for lack of a better term, crazy nominees that we put in the cabinet, this economic team kind of came in with some goodwill. Great experience, Howard Scott Dissent, good experience, but they have not been able to explain this policy. You saw Howard Lutnick going on TV telling Dan Brown, just trust Trump. If that's where you're going to, if that's your defense at this stage of the game when we're just starting these tariff policies, that is not a good place for them to be in. And again, it's one of those things where it does not matter who you voted for. If you're looking at your bottom line and your savings go down, just like we saw happen to a lot of people today, that's not a good start.
I think there's a risk. I think there is a risk about mixed messages, and I think some of that may be good cop, bad cop that's happening. The only way to sell this to the American people is fairness. Do you think that German cars should be taxed tariff at 25% what American cars are that going to Germany?
Yeah, they're not doing that. go work for
that's
Trump in the White
that's
House
the
and
way to
explain
sell
this
this
more
policy.
effectively.
Why are the sons of policy? Why is it not cohesive?
I mean, I don't have an answer to that, other than to say that the president is not always on message with the people around him. And the president, at the end of the day, sets the message. One of the mixed messages was about deals. His advisors were saying this is not about making deals, and then the president said on Air Force One, happy to make deals, and people are calling, and we're going to use this as leverage. Now, I think it's pretty clear that that's exactly what he's doing. I would listen to President Trump on that. I mean, he's the one driving the train, but there are certainly some mixed messages coming out of the White
And the
House.
deals are coming. Canada's offered to drop their tariffs down to nothing. Israel's starting theirs down to nothing. India says they may drop theirs. I mean, the deals will come if you can keep Congress in line for a
We'll
little while.
portray that as a really big success, but the economic damage that may also
That's
happen,
that's
that's a political risk.
there's a risk. There's a risk on both sides.
Oh gosh, the American electorate as collateral damage. We'll see how it works out. Thanks, everyone. Still ahead.